Good evening and welcome to our conversation tonight. The topic is banditry and the breakdown of security in the Middle Belt region. My name is Daniel and I have as my co-host tonight Mr. Paul Ikechukwu Njoko. We have our speakers, those who we have invited to speak on this subject: John Haruna, Luka Biniyat, Obadiah Joshua, Austyn Nyam, Stephen Kefas, Dr. Phillip Hayab, and Honorable Jonathan Asake. So to kickstart the conversation, Paul, I will invite you to, if you make a brief, give us an idea, just a brief introduction of what has happened in the Middle Belt region, for instance, and then we now ask the speaker here present to give us an update on what, in his opinion, is the security situation in the North Central or the Middle Belt region. Paul?
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, our viewers all over the world. My name is Comrade Paul Ikechukwu Njoko. Our symposium tonight, the topic of discussion is breakdown of security in Middle Belt region. And Middle Belt region comprises of some few states, like Plateau State, Benue State, and all what of you. And of recent time, we have seen some level of marginalization along ethnic lines, political lines, and all what have you, economically and otherwise. And tonight, this discussion is about assessments of whether banditry is on its proliferation without reformation and outstanding solution by the presidency of the government of Federal Republic of Nigeria to stemming the menace, because we have read their treatments, vicarious and personal experiences, that people of Middle Belt are not treated equally like the core Northerners, the Northeast, Northwest, and North Central. And the question is it that they are not core Northern states? Why should bandits and criminal elements be invading their farmlands, making them IDPs, miming and raping their people, and making farm products to be unfruitful? So we want to know why these things are happening, and we want to profile a solution on a way out to this menace. So the question now is, what do we do in order to make the federal government of Nigeria hearken to the lamentation of people of the Middle Belt region? Statistically, the people
All right, I think his network is hanging now. So, well, Philip, you have had the introduction. Let's start from you. Meanwhile, we welcome Honorable Jonathan Asake. Good evening, sir. You are welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Daniel.
Intimidated him several times and threatened to even kill him. And they claim hospitality and ownership of Benue State and Middle Belt region. The question is this president or our government
All right, Paul, if you come back, we'll not allow you to continue speaking. Philip, go ahead, please. If he comes back, I'll tell
Okay.
You
Yes, give me a minute before I come on video, but I will start. I want to underline that the insecurity in Nigeria right now is beyond just the Middle Belt. As Paul was trying to outline, I think all over the north of Nigeria now, everywhere is a scary place to go to. But this is the unfortunate thing. When the crisis actually began, with all fairness to history, it began in the Middle Belt, and then the government didn't take the matter seriously. maybe the government was thinking the crisis will just engulf the Middle Belt and that will be the end of it. That was not a very good calculation by them because now the crisis has also expanded to almost all the regions of the north and other places. That said, now when the poll was introducing the Middle Belt, he said Plateau State, Benue State. I think this is where the error normally comes from. The what is today the Middle Belt is just by name, but the definition actually is that it has to do with those of us who are non-Muslims in the north of Nigeria. What I do know about the Middle Belt is that it started as the Non-Muslim Northerners League, and that was in 1949. And the reason was that in 1949 at the Northern House of Assembly in Kaduna, I'm now on video, somebody introduced, one of the House members introduced a motion. The motion was requesting for the stopping of all Christian missionary activities in the north of Nigeria. And that was what triggered the Non-Muslims Northerners League to come about. Yes, it started in the Plateau, and then the people of Benue joined, and then all the other people who are in what you might call the north joined. So you have people from southern Borno, you have people from southern what is today South Gongola, now Adamawa, you have people from Taraba, you have people from Gombe, you have people from Kaduna, you have people from Niger and Nasarawa. So the states are actually enormous. You have Kogi and others. So what is, and we have people who belong to what is the Middle Belt in Kebbi, in Sokoto, in Katsina, because the idea was the marginalization of the Christian who comes from the north. That was what gave birth to what would take its name later as the Middle Belt Forum. So yes, unfortunately, Nigeria has not actually moved away from these sentiments of the 1940s against those people of what now you can call the Middle Belt, who incidentally are often predominantly Christians in this location. Now, so the security in our land has not improved. Banditry, kidnapping, killings, are still going on right now from Kafanchan, where I'm speaking. I cannot drive at this hour to Kaduna because the chances are that I could get kidnapped between Kachia and, yes, sir.
Philip.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
1 second, please. Thank you very much for this definition of what is Middle Belt.
Yes.
And sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine.
Going on to the issue where we are here today, which is the issue of security. But please, before we move on to that issue of security, I know I asked this question, should we call this meeting North Central or Middle Belt? The predominant opinion was that we should go with Middle Belt. And now, when I posted this forum, I'm not happy that Ali Baba has left, because Ali Baba, Muhammad Ali Baba, raised the issue of what the Middle Belt is. Okay, remember, this is what he said. He said on that forum, before I invited him to join, he said, Middle Belt is gross representation of my sub-region, and it is a deliberate effort to obfuscate its religious coloration. Unfortunately, the lazy and largely conspiratorial media has helped sustain that carry. Let me point out that Ali Baba is from Niger State. Muhammad is from Niger State. He also went on to say, even then, when Middle Belt started, it was mainly restricted to Benue Plateau State. Niger, Kwara, and Kogi were never part of that movement, let alone Adamawa, Yobe, or Kaduna State. He went on to say, he continued, most importantly, while Middle Belt may have been an umbrella, he said when I pointed that to him that Middle Belt term predates Nigerian independence. Whereas North Central was only recognized in 1995, we had North Central for the first time. He now said,
Yeah.
most importantly, while the Middle Belt may have been an umbrella for minority ethnic groups from that part of the north, and a coincidence that Joseph Tarka and co-travelers were Christians, the
Amen.
successors have stuck to Christianity as the sole recruitment template for its membership. So that is what he's saying, that even that the term Middle Belt is a gross representation of the people who live in that region. That even okay, you know, even if we accepted that's okay, let's use Middle Belt as a coloration. But yet, that the Christians in the north have monopolized that term as if Middle Belt refers to Christians alone. The Middle Belt should now encompass all minority ethnic groups in the north, whether they are Christians or not. Because I know that in the north, we have the Gwari, we have the Nupe, we have all these tribal groups who are not necessarily Christian, who some of them may not even Muslims, many of them are enemies. So what do you say? How should we define the term Middle Belt? Let's clear this first, and then before I come back to you, let's
Okay.
hear what Honorable Jonathan Asake will hear on this before I come back to you regarding this definition of Middle Belt. Honorable, please, do you have anything to say? If you can unmute yourself.
Sorry, excuse me. The video is not showing. We are not seeing you. Is there any problem?
You are not seeing me?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, the video is showing.
It's showing.
He's here on his live. Maybe just you need to click where the photo is. You see him. He's live. I can see you, Daniel.
Okay, and Honorable, I can also see you, so you can go ahead.
Well, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Yes,
and hear
we
you.
can see you.
Okay.
Can you see me as well? Can you see me?
Yes, we saw you.
Thank you very much.
And saw you earlier, yes.
Good evening, all. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I'm joining late, but I understand that we are talking about issues concerning the Middle Belt, the insecurity in the Middle Belt region. And glad that you also read parts of what somebody presented. Maybe he presented it today, I don't know, or before I joined. And his own concept of the Middle Belt. But let me say this. The Middle Belt, simply put, central Nigeria. If you check what all the writers, even within the colonial era, wrote about Nigeria and what they refer to as central Nigeria, then that is what the Middle Belt is all about. And let no one be in doubt. It is actually a word for ethnic nationalities that are in what we call the northern region today. And by central Nigeria, if you draw a line from southern Kebbi to southern Kaduna in the northwest zone as it is today, and you draw a line from southern Borno through southern Yobe and southern Gombe, southern Bauchi, Adamawa, and Taraba in the northeast. And that line goes on to include what we call the north central states, that is 6 states of Niger, Kogi, Benue, Plateau, the FCT, Nasarawa. Those are 6 states, and Benue. Have I included Benue? Now, when you draw that line, you will find one contiguous land mass of a people that have cultural affinities, of a people that are multi-ethnic, that are multi-religious. Yes, majority may be Christians, but we have Muslims, we have traditional worshippers in that region. And the entire land is contiguous. That is what is called Central Nigeria. And that is what is called the Middle Belt region. So those people that come to try to shoot down the concept of the Middle Belt are trying to shoot down the struggle, what led to the struggle of the Middle Belt. And they are the ones actually that are guilty of giving the Middle Belt a religious coloration. Nobody, even the officials of the Middle Belt today, the fathers of the Middle Belt, have never doubted the complexity of the Middle Belt and the mixture of the Middle Belt, the diversity of the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt is so diverse. And therefore, whenever anyone feels he has this advantage position, if he comes from the Middle Belt or he wants favor, particularly if he is of the Islamic religion, he begins to shoot down the concept of the Middle Belt just because he does not want to identify with the struggle. But there are numerous ethnic nationalities, individuals that are Muslims that are part of the Middle Belt struggle. In fact, the vice president of the Middle Belt Forum today, Engineer Tanko Abdullahi, is a Muslim from Nasarawa State, and he's the vice president. Dr. Bitrus Pogu, the president of the Middle Belt, is a Christian from Chibok, Borno State. So the concept of the Middle Belt is that central part of Nigeria that is made up of people that are diverse. Please, I lost my signal. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Now, that is the concept. So these diversities that we have, there is no place, part of this country, that you have such diversities of religion, culture, traditions as in the Middle Belt. So when somebody comes up and say, oh, Middle Belt is about Christianity. Now, what led to the struggle of the Middle Belt? It's the struggle against marginalization, the struggle against the struggle against enslavement of the people as a result of their culture, their ethnicity, and even their religious practices. So if somebody comes up and says the Middle Belt is about Christianity, that person is being economical with the truth.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we thank you very much, sir. It's good that Philip, do you have anything to add before I call on Muhammad? He's now here to give us his own. Yes.
Yeah, if Mohammed is back, I think that makes it great. I think I've read different books from Honorable Asake. If Mohammed has made a claim that the Middle Belt started with Christians, he is correct. But to say that the Middle Belt was all about Christianity, that is where he would have made an error. Because at the beginning, I told you that the books are very clear. In 1949, to be precise, there was a motion stating that all Christian missionary activities should be proscribed in northern Nigeria. That was what gave rise to that struggle. That was to take a name later, because it didn't take the name Middle Belt at the beginning. When the key players happened to be from the Plateau and Benue, this Benue Plateau later, so the name just became Middle Belt. We, the Southern Kaduna people, joined the Middle Belt as the Nazard Union, and many meetings were held. Now, the later on, people joined when people will share in the ideology, because there was an ideology. The ideology was that we cannot be excluded from where we belong. And others who share in this ideology joined, even whether they were Muslims or they were Christians. But to make any assertion that Niger State, what is today Niger State, was not part of the Middle Belt is also erroneous. History books are very clear. The likes of Sunday Awoni were very key in the Middle Belt struggle at a point in time. And you would know that he comes from Kwara State. Where is Kwara? Where is Niger? which one is closer? I think Kwara is farthest. So the biggest problem that has been in the north of Nigeria, to my mind, which I think we should try to disabuse, is that whenever we take up a discussion, then we want to give it this coloration of Christian Muslim. I think the real issue is what has been noted by all the speakers who have spoken, the question of marginalization. Now, in the north of Nigeria, I can tell you why this middle belt struggle has remained what it is that if today I, Phillip, is qualified to be a minister, somebody in the north will not look at me as a northerner. Now, we begin to have this idea of core north. Where is core north? Where is not core north? So all these colorations, I think people have brought them sometimes to win cheap popularities for themselves. But the Middle Belt struggle remains the struggle of emancipation of ethnic minorities who constitute more than half of the population of the number of languages in Nigeria. From my last count, we have more than 258 ethnic groups that make up what today you can call the Middle Belt. And Nigeria has only 556 languages. Now, if the area that is called the Middle Belt would have 558 language groups, it means that we have more than half of the other diversities that you have in Nigeria. And therefore, our cases need to be taken seriously, because once a person is excluded from any part, feels excluded, already is a problem. And I think this is why this discussion is very central. When we come to the issue of what is the state of insecurity today, we will mention it. But what I'm trying to, I'm trying to underscore is that the history must be made straight so that Mohammed is not the one at fault and we are not at fault. Maybe some haven't read some of the books.
Mohammed is now here, so let's hear from Mohammed. Let me also point out.
I'm glad that he's back. Yes, I'm
Phillip,
back. I'm glad that he's back on
let me point out that Mohammed didn't say that Middle Belt is only about Christians. He said that some people have now monopolized it and make it appear as if it's a Christian thing. But let me hear from him. Let's hear from him again to make sure that is what he meant. Okay, Mr. Libaba Muhammad, can you please unmute yourself and
yeah, I'm here.
Make your point. Yes, go ahead. What do you have to say about the definition of Middle Belt?
Yeah, the definition in contemporary times is simply non-Muslim northerners. Consistently, as you just like I said, he said the leader is from. In the first place, when we started, I said it's being misrepresented as if you are referring to the North Central Nigeria. And like I keep saying that North Central geopolitical zone is different from Middle Belt. Middle Belt consistently, so thus far in contemporary times, like I said, by coincidence, Joseph Taka, who was well known to have midwifed it, happened to be a Christian. But the successors all along, if you check the entire leadership, it has always been Christianized. The entire list you listed there, you could see, if there is anyone from Niger, you realize that he may not be as a representative of the composition of Niger. Consistently, in fact, this is the first time I'm hearing about the vice chairman. You hardly see him in the scheme of things. The one that they said is from from Nasarawa State. You hardly see him in the scheme of things. And just like I said, as reflected in the discourses you have had there, the religious coloration is absolutely 100% Christian. And even those that speak regularly about the North Central, which is being misrepresented as Middle Belt, you hear the president is from Yobe. The last one was from Adamawa. The only one that had come from Niger was Jerry Ghana, who happens to be a Christian Nigerite. So the identity has been consistent. If you talk of you are quoting history while you are doing the opposite of what the history reflects, it will take you on the contemporary issue, the contemporary picture that we see. So by and large, it's always been a religious, movement. It's with political undertones. But most importantly, my issue even about all this regionalism or ethnicity or religion is the fact that our most critical challenge refers to development of our people. Most of these struggles have always been about appointments. They are privileges, elites. This is divide and rule by elites. Simply all they are interested in is privileges. This man is made commissioner, minister, or whatever. Not about who they develop the educational development of their place, the economic development or the social development of their respective states or even local governments. The struggle has always been about appointments, about allocations, about, so it doesn't really, they hardly, reflect what concerns the poor masses down there. Their concern is survival, their economic well-being, their educational well-being, the health issues. They are hardly discussed. It is the appointment of this man is not Christian, is not from North Central or whatever. And those are not the issues that bother the poor masses that we claim to represent. So we need to refocus actually. See now, just talk of those that are already the governors, virtually there is no state governor that is not facing charges. By coincidence, the only ones in jail now are from the so-called middle belt. And these are the substantive issues we should be addressing, not who is appointed what. Mostly these are privileges being shared by the elites. They don't really matter to the poor man down there. The poor man down there is he wants his life improved, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't care who brings the improvement, because you can't just be using the name. The region you come from, or the religion, or the people, and then you're only feathering your own nest. Me personally, I'm not fastidious about where someone comes from. What matters is what are you delivering? How are you impacting the people? This should be our concern, not who is doing the impacting or not impacting. Because they are liberally shared, these exploiters. In fact, the only two divisions anyone can see as a left-leaning person is between the oppressors and the oppressed. And these oppressors have no color, no region, no religion, no tribe, no nothing. All they are interested, all that binds them is their economic interest.
All right.
So okay. This issue, the earlier we start facing up to the brass tacks, the better.
All right, we thank you very much. So I think we've got the definition of middle belt. Let's not belabor the issue. Let's now go to the main point why we are here today. Security, banditry, kidnapping. What are we seeing in the region today? Please, Phillip has pointed out earlier that security all over Nigeria is a problem right now. But today, last time, I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about the north. So today, don't misunderstand why we are focusing on the middle belt region. So now let's start from Phillip again. What is the state of security or otherwise in this region? Phillip, are you muted? No, you are not. Phillip, I'm not hearing you. Is anyone hearing him? Paul? Phillip, is anyone hearing you? I'm not sure.
No, tell him to unmute himself.
Phillip, are you muted? I don't think so. All right, let's move on to Honorable Asake, please. If you're able, until Phillip comes back.
Okay. Can I have your question again?
Yes, we are now talking about the state of security or otherwise in the Middle Belt region. What is the situation today with regards to security?
Well, it is as bad as ever. But before I go into that, let me just make a short comment on what the last speaker said. I don't know him much, but I learned he's from Niger State. But I want to assure you, what he is saying about the Middle Belt being championed all over, the Middle Belt struggle being championed all over by Christians, he won't be saying that if he was if he was not a Muslim. So you could see that when matters of ethnicity and religion come into play in this country, people have their biases and people have their sentiments. So it all behoves on us to understand that we all have our biases and we all have our sentiments. And we all know where the struggle starts and why the struggle. Now, let me go into the insecurity. Like I said, it is as bad as ever in the Middle Belt. The incessant invasions of communities, attacks on communities, unprovoked attacks on communities by what everybody has come to understand as killer herdsmen is everywhere. In fact, as I'm talking now, just yesterday, in a community called Kizachi in Kauru local government area of Kaduna State, these Fulani herdsmen went into a community and hacked down 14 innocent souls, unprovoked, and wounded over 77 people, and burned down almost all the entire village. Nobody has had any quarrel with them. Now, that community happens to be majority Christians. Now, who talks for them? If I, as Honorable Asake, will talk down, they will say, oh, I'm talking that people have been killed because they are Christians or because I'm a Christian. So we have refused to put on that prism of unbiasedness. And each one of us is talking from the angle he's talking. And we have refused to accept that we all have our sentiments. So this is the reality, but it has not taken out the reality that people are being killed. Now, what am I talking about? Outside the invasions, which is happening on daily basis. I'm just talking about Kaduna State now. It's happening on daily basis. But we also have these kidnappings that are taking place every day on our roads. And those are the ones that the media gets to hear about. But majority of these kidnappings are happening within the communities, within the villages. Who cannot complain? Don't know even where, if their member is taken or their families are taken, they will just negotiate silently, sell their lands, sell their property, and settle the ransom without the government knowing about it. And this continues to impoverish communities every day. And this is what our communities are going through every day. And it is ditto for communities in many states of the Middle Belt. And that informed why this member of the House of Representatives went to present a petition, which is the tradition that he presented, to present a petition on behalf of his own people, that is the Tea people in America, complaining about the displacement of Tea people from their ancestral lands, farming communities, which is the same thing that is in Kaduna State, Southern Kaduna, in Plateau, Andabawa, and many states of the Middle Belt. So he only wanted to present that petition, but he was stopped by the Deputy Speaker. And many of us, I have been a member of the House of Representatives, and we know the practice there. Many of us felt it was wrong. The Deputy Speaker, is just first among equals. As a presiding officer, he is representing a constituency. And the member that was to represent that petition is representing a constituency. And within the flow of that house, there is what we call parliamentary rights and privileges. And he was stopped. Why was he stopped? He did not have the right to stop a member from presenting a petition on behalf of his constituency. That is what he was sent there to come and do. But he stopped him using the power of the chair. And why did he stop him? He stopped him because every one of us is boxed up within the confines of our sentiments. The Deputy Speaker cannot say, if he was a thief man, or if he was a Christian, he will not stop that petition. I'm assuming that if it was Budaje Kezore that came to present a petition in the floor of that house and complaining that some communities in his own Jigawa state have been displaced, he will never stop him. But he was already biased. So we can see where Nigeria has been taken to in this country. So as I said earlier, the issue of insecurity is still as bad and is getting exponentially worse every day in our communities. Thank you.
This is what you have just narrated here is so sad. Let's hear again from Phillip. Phillip, now you are back.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I think there was a technical issue. Sorry. The president of Sokapo has spoken. I am sorry that we keep coming to this matter of whether we are Christians or Muslims. I wish that we will get to a day where this matter will not be topical, but the issue of our collective survival. And I believe in an inclusive Nigeria, and I hope this happens in our time. The level of insecurity now, Daniel, and for those of you who are out there, is so alarming that you cannot travel the way we used to do before. Uh, 3 or so weeks ago, I had the benefit of conducting an interview in communities of Kajuru local government. And I think that some of the reports that we've had is just, they're just there, maybe not so detailed. I got 3 communities, or 4, I should say, that have been displaced completely from their town. These towns are Kujene Dutse, and Kikwari. The entire community, no single person is still at home in the village. No, in the villages. They've all been sent packing by people they say they have evidence that they are the Fulani headsmen, Fulani of their area, because they heard them speaking in full day. And if after the towns were sacked, if one person whom I interviewed told me he tried to get home to see if I can get some food to bring to Kajuru, Maraban Kajuru, which is just some miles away from Kaduna, he was stopped by these people. He was stripped naked. They almost killed him until somebody amongst the headsmen intervened for him. But they took away his motorcycle, and he lives just now. They live in Maraban Kajuru, which is just a few kilometers away from their village, but they dare not go to their villages. So this is how serious the matter has gotten. The headsmen have become so emboldened that now they can do things, and they can do whatever they want to do, and nobody seems to say anything to them. In my own village, where I come from, my cousin was picked up from our house, somewhere in December. In our own village, I've never heard, we don't have a word kidnap in my language, so it's something that we don't even have the idea of. He was taken from our own house, taken to the bush, and a ransom had to be paid before he returned. If you've been following the news, you would know that there was a school of College of Forestry in Africa, very close to NDA, the new NDA in Kaduna, very close to the airport, was taken. 39 students are still in captivity. You would have heard that the staff who live at the airport authority, at the airport quarters in Kaduna Airport, were taken into hostage, and most of them were women. They've been returned anyway, but now you cannot tell exactly what happened to them when they were taken by these headsmen. And when this College of Forestry near NDA was taken, the person who was speaking, definitely from his language, we could make out that he is a Fulani, and he was boasting saying they are going to get a lot of money since they have taken students. And they have compelled the students, the way you know Ramson, that is done internationally, pointing a gun at your head, and then you are talking. So these students are begging government to pay ransom for them on their head so that they can come home. And from this conversation that we have an audio call that somebody met or purportedly met to an armed bandit, he was saying they are looking for 500 million. So it has become a big venture, big business that And now you could be taken from your home. If you are traveling, you could be taken on the way. If you are in a secure place like an airport quarters, you could be taken. Now, boarding schools in Kaduna, I'm telling you, already are in threat because the one in Ikara that the bandits went, and the story is that, oh, they were all rescued. I read something in the news where Ikara people were, a group called Ikara Concern Group, say that the government was not telling the truth. Now we no longer trust, we don't know whom to trust. Now, if the insecurity situation has gotten to a point where even government officials are not trusted, then you should know that we're in a precarious state. We're in a war situation. That's just what the insecurity in our region, particularly the Middle Belt, has become. So I don't know whether we're going to find a solution to this, and the governments are either too overstretched to a way, or I don't know whether they are caving in to the threat of this one single ethnic group to that we seem to be the ones carrying out all these kidnappings and the burning of towns and killing of people. So it's an unfortunate situation that Nigeria has become, has found itself into. And until something is done, I'm beginning to wonder whether the sovereignty of Nigeria will still be there in no distant time. That should be, that is going to be unfortunate if we ever get there.
Okay, if anyone has any question or make any comment, please indicate by raising up your hand using the device. Paul, at this point, we have had this sad story now. In fact, it is shocking because I remember some few months ago I was asking that it appears the violence in that region is going down, especially apart from the normal criminal element of it, but the one that's targeting tribal groups, ethnic groups, if you get what I mean, it appeared to be lessened. But what Phillip is saying now is that even that angle seems to be getting worse. Paul, do you have any question or any impression on this?
Yeah, the question I want to, before I put a question across, I want to give this correlation that the negligence on security matters in the Middle Belt is what I call an organized negligence, because it seems that the governors of Middle Belt extractions are not concerned, they are not bothered about the insecurity in their region. Well, let me put this question straight, because I know Honorable Jonathan Asake has severally appeared on the national television and even accused the massacre one certain time in southern Kaduna of the governor of Kaduna State's subserviency and carelessness to curbing the insecurity. And I want him to reiterate what he said, because in the AIT 6 months ago, I heard him say that the killings in southern Kaduna is unprecedented, and that the governor, he accused the governor of Kaduna State, Malam El-Rufai. So, Honorable Jonathan, the question is this: why do you think that Governor El-Rufai is so reluctant to curbing these menaces in southern Kaduna of the Middle Belt, especially the southern Kaduna Christians?
You see, you watch a person or you read a person's mind by his words, not only his words, but by his action. You know, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, they say. Now, when Governor El-Rufai came in, to show that he has actually taken sides against the people of Southern Kaduna, whom he perceived to be Christians, for instance, even though my brother there say he doesn't want us to talk about religion and whatever, but we cannot run away from the stark reality that is staring us in the face today. The appointments we have today, both at the national level and in my own state, Kaduna State, if you check the appointments we have today in Kaduna State, you will understand that the governor himself is following that pattern of ethno-religious sentiments in his appointments. In Southern Kaduna, where we have majority of the people, in fact, 85% of the people being Christians, but you find out that wherever he goes to make appointment, a meaningful appointment, he goes to the Muslim communities. If you go today, wherever he cites his own developmental projects, infrastructure, he goes to the communities of the Hausa Fulani Muslims. And I can give you examples, like very concrete caste schools that he is building in Kasamagani. It is within the community of the Hausa Fulani community. In Kafanchan, it is within the emirate. In Kachia, it is within the Kachia township where you have the community of Hausa Fulani Muslims. So what do you want the people to say other than that? And El-Rufai himself had come on television without any proof, without making reference to any pre-existing record, and say that Christians are 30% and Muslims are 70%. That is a governor. We have never been playing that politics. It's a precursor. Will come from a peaceful way of living. But he came whenever he said that it is 30%, then we knew that he was up to something. Then all of a sudden he said, well, he was muting the Muslim ticket, which we have never experienced. And at the end of the day, he moved out, accused the people of Southern Kaduna that they are bigots, that they don't want to stay in peace with people of other religions and other ethnicities, which is not true. Of our 57 ethnic nationalities in Southern Kaduna, none is fighting the other. Of the Southerners and other tribes that are staying in Southern Kaduna, none is fighting anybody. So he is bringing all this rhetoric. And then he went on with his rhetoric and said that the incessant killings in Southern Kaduna is caused by Fulani people that are trans-Saharan people who came in sometimes and they were passing through our communities and they were killed. And he followed them and identified them and he paid them to stop the killing. But at the end of the day, he changed that narrative again and said it is our own elites that instigate the killings, and so that they can go and meet government and government will give them money, government will settle them. Then he moved from that and said it is our religious leaders that instigate the killings and and then at the end of the day, they go overseas to look for money in the pretext of rebuilding their churches. All these rhetorics, he keeps changing the narrative. But in all of these attacks, not one single time has he gone to see for himself what has happened, which community is attacked, if they have been displaced, where have they been displaced to? What are they eating? It is only organizations, church-based organizations, individuals and groups that go to cater for these people in the displaced camps. And as I'm talking today, in Kaju local government and Chikun local government and other local governments of Southern Kaduna, in fact, many communities have been displaced and they have never gone back to their farming communities, and they are farmers. And one thing we found out that he was doing so consistently is that when a community is being attacked unprovoked, children and women are killed, property destroyed, and the people are displaced, then all he does is to impose a 24-hour hour curfew within that community, and people will begin to starve. And within that curfew period, the herdsmen, the killer herdsmen will still find their way to go in and kill more, and they are never brought to book. So this is why we are raising these questions. What is happening? What is going on? The responsibility, the constitutional responsibility of a leader is the security and the welfare of the people. The security is not there for the people. Majority of our people are now staying outside their communities. They cannot go back to their farms. These children have been out of school, some of them for 4 years. They have not gone to school. So something is happening. And that is what, but when you raise the question, because the communities that are targeted, in our communities in Southern Kaduna, no Muslim community has ever been targeted and killed and destroyed and displaced the way our communities that have been targeted. But when the Sokapo president talks, they say, oh, because he's a Christian. So that is why he's talking. Now, who talks for these people? My own is always that when evil is being perpetrated, whoever that is perpetrating that evil, whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, or a traditional worshiper, whether you are Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, or any of the ethnicities in this country, it is your responsibility to speak out. And if you are a leader, you are rested with a huge responsibility that you must protect the people irrespective of their party affiliation, irrespective of their tribe, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their status. And that is what our leaders are failing to do. Our leaders are seeing the people through the prism of their religion first, or through the prism of their ethnicity. And if you don't belong to a particular religion, or you don't belong to a particular ethnicity, even if the whole village is wiped out, nobody cares about it. Don't even talk about it.
That is very sad. I noticed that Austyn is with us now. I failed to notice earlier that because he only entered with Austyn. Austyn, you are here now.
Yeah, sorry. I initially was in another meeting,
Okay.
and I didn't notice that the time was a Nigerian time given. I thought it was a UK time that was given for 6 p.m. So here's why I was actually waiting for 6 p.m. to, to come on.
All right. Well, we welcome you. You are here now. So you have noticed what has been said. Can we listen to your own presentation at this point?
First of all, I want to, say very good evening to everyone, especially my leader, Honorable Asake. You see, I just before I logged on, I had a conversation with a friend about the whole of these issues. You can see how this thing is gradually resonating to the issue of the Southwest at the moment, that they are calling for, disintegration of the country. When Boko Haram started, some people liked it. Some people thought that it was going to be in their favor, until when it became really bad and too late. That was when they now down on them and they call it what it is today. Now, the issue of this attacks, when it was going on in Benue, Southern Kaduna Plateau, they were calling it headers farmers clashes. And the next name they gave it was banditry. And the same people today that said no, it wasn't what it was from the beginning, are now saying, calling it today that it is outright terrorism. It should be treated as such. Is it because the ministry has now moved to the permanent site? Now that is happening in Zamfara, now that is happening in Katsina, when it was happening in Southern Kaduna, when it was happening in Plateau, they say it was headers farmers clashes. They say it was a conflict. Now that it has come out to light, everyone is not safe now. They now begin to say, oh, it is terrorism. And one of the people that said that, I can draw your attention to a situation where Nasiru El-Rufai said the reason why the people of Southern Kaduna are being killed is because they don't want to live in peace. In peace with who? Terrorists? He is the same person today that has now changed his tune to say that these people are terrorists. We must not negotiate with them. They should be treated as such. Okay? So the reason why Nigeria is always getting it wrong is when something happens, you politicize it. And like Honorable Asake rightly said, you look at it from the prism of religion until you until it's finally getting to your domot. Then you want to change, you want to call it what it is. And at most cases, it's too late, or it cannot be managed anymore. Now nobody's safe now. Nobody's safe. So they're not saying that, oh, it is terrorism. It should be treated as such. No negotiation. Blah, 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 blah. But this is what we've been saying from the beginning. This is outright terrorism. You cannot take your car to a village, drive anyhow within the village, begin to kill people there. And when something starts, you will say that it is a clash between the villagers and the driver. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. These people live in their own village peacefully. You come from somewhere, okay? You come from somewhere, instigate a crisis, kill people, and then you call it a clash? How is it a clash? How is it a clash? I cannot come to your house. If I come to your house, instigate a crisis, and I kill somebody in your house, that is a murder case. That is a murder case. But you see, the thing, and you saw it recently, the shameful thing that happened in the National Assembly recently, when Honorable Gwila presented a petition from people from his Benue people in the diaspora, and he was told that Nigeria should not sit down abroad where in their comfort zone and send a petition. First of all, I'm a Nigerian. I carry a Nigerian passport. Okay, so if something happens to me today outside Nigeria, is that what the federal government will tell me? Is that what that deputy speaker will tell me? That I'm on my own because I'm in my comfort zone, I can solve that problem. And hence why you see people don't take Nigeria and Nigerians seriously. Okay, you cannot say, even some countries that are not up to Nigeria, their citizens vote from abroad. But these people, but I want to remind that deputy speaker, okay, that if not for the over $20 billion that Nigerians sent to Nigeria, when the price of oil went down, people like him would have been trekking to the National Assembly. And I'm sure by that time he will not be there because it will no longer be attractive. All the monies that they share there will not be there. Okay.
Well, we thank you. Let's go to Ngerem, please. Thank you, Austyn. We'll come back to you. Ngerem, you've been listening to these things. You are in the United States. How does these sad stories make you feel?
Well, it is disappointing, but I had said it before and saying it again. It is a strategy to actualize Sardauna's hope to make Nigeria a gift to Danfodio. That is the bottom line of it. The current administration is fully in support of this, fully in support of it. And that is the reason why neither, whatever you call him, Buhari or anybody is saying anything about it. Because if he gives the order to get all this people out, it will be done. It will be done. But he doesn't, and he will not, because he has been surrounded by the cabal that's doing all of these things, that's conducting all of these things here. Where did these people come from? First of all, they were said they were not Nigerians. Well, if you have illegals in your country, you arrest them and you send them back where they come from. You deport them. That's what America does. Okay? Has he said anything? No. What about the killings? Nothing. Okay? Buhari was basically, El Rufai is basically his field operator. Okay? So the whole thing is that whatever we're saying here, it very honestly doesn't matter because they will not do a damn thing about it. They are to actualize. They want to actualize what Sardauna wanted. That's their goal, is the bottom line. No excuses, nothing else. Forget about Christianity, forget about whatever it is, okay? It doesn't matter. It's to actualize that. That is what he wants. And right now, they're hurrying to make sure that before Buhari gets out of office, they are fully settled and rested where they are, okay? Because right now, Buhari is the head of state, right? If anything happens anywhere in any community, he just sends the entire armed forces there. So right now, the whole thing, Buhari has basically planted explosives all over Nigeria. And the explosions will happen when he leaves. Because no community is going to accept this nonsense here. When you're talking about these people, you know, I mean, the Fulani that I know, for all of you on this medium here, my grandmother, my great-grandmother is Fulani from Sokoto. My grandmother moved, the great-grandmother moved from Sokoto to Kano. My grandmother is Fulani from Kano. I know that. The Fulani that we knew never carried anything other than their sticks and whatever. And when they run through your area and the cows eat up something, maize, yam, whatever, they did not go anywhere. They stopped and found out who owns that farm. They negotiate. They either pay there then or they pay when they come back. That's the Fulani that I know. I personally carried what you call rogo and kulikuli to the Fulani areas where they start to rest because they came to our house first. They brought us nono, they brought us fura and all of those things. My great-grandmother and my grandmother, they're all there. They would never tell that this is the Fulanis. Okay, the family they are telling, no, we don't know this. So this whole thing is the Buhari crew and the Rufai crew that imported these people. The people we're talking about right now, they know nothing except bloodshed. They know absolutely nothing except bloodshed. Now, when you head over to Futajalan and Senegal, where they come from, none of them is in any positions because all the minorities gagged up against them. No Fulani man is anything in Futajalan. But now they found Nigeria a virgin land. And Buhari decided to basically disarm everybody. Now, if you cannot control the country, then let everybody have arms so that you know that when you come to my house, I've got one, you've got one. Now, who shoots first would be the problem. So right now,
Henry, before you continue, yes. Please, I don't want you to go. Muhammad, Mr. Lebaba, I know you are still here. What do you respond to this last speaker? Do you have any response for what we have just heard?
Of course I do, because my feeling is that it's this kind of conspiracy theories that actually exacerbate our problems, you know? Instead of personal...
It's a fact, no conspiracy.
Henry, wait, let's hear it, please.
So these are kind of conspiracy theories that exacerbate our problems. Because people are reading history upside down. That's Donald's policy. It doesn't even make sense that you want to eliminate people and then you start eliminating yourself. This Boko Haram has been consistent. The notice everybody knows is that predominantly Muslims. That is where that Boko Haram has been. And those saying that Zamfara started after the very first official assignment that Buhari had ever done in military uniform was to go to Zamfara because he inherited the same crisis in Zamfara. So is this kind of, instead of us to face up to crimes and criminals, these divisive tendencies with very disjointed historic conspiracy theories are part of our problem, because we don't, instead of uniting against crime and criminality, we give them cover. We give them, camouflage by associating them with some imaginary agenda. I mean, these guys are criminals. Everybody knows they are violent criminals. Personally, I feel part of what has exacerbated this insecurity is the corruption in the military, because all the funds and the arms that are supposed to be bought to face up to this, they have continued to divert, and this thing has now grown so monstrously that it has overwhelmed everybody. Instead of us to face up to that and unite against corruption and insist that the right persons and the right equipment and the right personnel to be employed to deal with these criminals who are busy chasing shadows by bandying some asinine theories and conspiracy about conspiracies, which what you call Ahmadu Bello or Danfodio things are we talking about? When they are decimating the same disciples of Danfodio and the like.
Muhammad,
Is the entire Northwest not on fire now? So what goal?
Muhammad,
which
let me ask
expansion are they doing? Do you heard? Yeah.
Yeah, I had you. Let me ask a question here, please. You made a point now that the major problem we have is the corruption in the military. This present administration came
personally because that's what has not enabled them to arm.
Okay, just hang on. Let me ask his question.
I really want to.
Okay.
This is one of the questions I wanted to ask. Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people are dying, a lot of people are being killed, a lot of villages have been destroyed. And you say now that part of the major problem is the corruption in the military. This present administration came into power with the premise to fight corruption. And we were fighting before that, the army chief, the service chief, for the past 2 years. Finally, Buhari, the service chiefs now are now gone, new service chiefs are now here, and the problem is still going on. What is stopping the federal military, the federal government? Is it that the federal government lacks the political will or the resources to fight this crime, if it is really crime as you are putting it? It's a question. I want you to continue, Muhammad.
Yeah, personally, like I said, I mean, they've just appointed these service chiefs. You had the national skills.
You were in the service before this time. They know what is going on.
That's what I'm saying. Now we all agreed, but would they use their bare hands? We all agreed that the president took too long in replacing those people. But these ones that have come now, of course, you don't expect them to perform magic. But the national security advisor
you give orders. In the military, you don't discuss, you give orders. You know what is happening.
You give orders to fight what now.
Exactly. So now head back to Buhari. That's what I said. Head back to Buhari. That's what I said. Let him give the orders. Let him give the orders.
The order is already there. I'm saying those that are being given the order, what would they fight with? With their bare hands?
Now, but you take these arms, you give it to the terrorists, and then you send soldiers with no food and nothing to go and fight them. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Now, are we not saying the same? So why not face up to that? Why bring theory of Sardana or Danfodio?
That is exactly correct. There's no theory. It is a fact. It is a fact. It is documented. I have the document. Do you understand me? I have the document.
You can have any document. Now we have Cambridge Analytica documents.
Now the issue is him giving the orders. He's holding back.
If you are talking of that, you lose me.
He's holding back.
You lose
okay.
People.
Now you are a victim. You got your hands tied behind you to do what? How can you do something with your hands turned behind you? Here, soldiers. Provide ammunition and for the soldiers. Let them take care of this here.
That's what they do. I agree with you there.
That's what they do. So if you have chosen not to do it, if you have chosen not to do it, then what are you saying?
Okay. On this.
What are you saying?
Please. On this problem of the corruption in the military, Honorable Asake, you've been.
Personally, that's what I feel has caused this problem, and that is what has made it overwhelming. Because these people, rather than first off of providing, you could see for instance, the police now. The directive given earlier was 10,000 additional policemen every year. The very first one was mired in litigation between the IG and the Police Service Commission. So very shameful. Somebody need to step in and stop that nonsense so that those additional policemen will set to work. Now, these are the failures that we need to face up to instead of banding theories that don't make any sense, imaginary theories. There has been failure of leadership. So let's face up to it. But when you bring theories, of course you lose me because I know we are not on the same page with you. You are chasing some shadows.
Thank you very
historic
much,
shadows. I want my people protected. I want Nigeria protected. Then you lose me. So why provide the vision? Let's face up to leadership failures and get them to theories are about the academics. They don't solve problems.
There is a source. Where is this coming from?
Mr. Amgeren, please let's keep this conversation very, very orderly. I I allowed the previous altercation because we wanted something to come out. So that thing has not come out. There is corruption in the military. Honorable Asake, you've been up there before. You were one of the players in Abuja. Why have people kept silent? The National Assembly kept silent. Governors kept silent. How do people feel up there when a whole village are being decimated?
Please, can anybody give what he does not have? I mean, look at the system. We have very weak institutions for that matter. Every institution has been weakened, and particularly with the coming of this administration, the institutions have not just been weakened, they have been broken. They are comatose. They cannot function. Now, let me give you one institution. The institution that is so critical in the life of this, of any nation. The INEC and the police, for instance, those two institutions. Now, let me start with INEC. Where recruitment of leaders is, where you get your leaders. And when you don't have leaders, any nation that does not have good leaders, that does not have a good leader, that nation can never get up. It's leadership. And when you have an INEC that people can win elections anytime without recourse to the people, to the electorate, then that is where the problem begins. Now, when we have strong institutions where one vote can make you lose election, or one vote can make you win an election, people, leaders that emerge will have respect for the electorate. But what we see today is total rascality, where I lost the signal.
No, you are here. Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Yeah, but I'm out of this thing. Now,
okay, you are back.
Now, what I was trying to say here is this: that let me give an example of Erufai. If you know Southern Kaduna is 26. Kaduna State is 46,000 square kilometers. Southern Kaduna alone is 26,000 square kilometers. Kano is 20,000 square kilometers. So Southern Kaduna by landmass alone is more than Kano State. And you have a very big population there. Now, if not for the political gerrymandering, for the manipulations, political manipulations, Kaduna State, which has only 23 local governments, compared to Katsina State that has 34 local governments, when in 1987, when the state was divided into Katsina and Kaduna, they had 7 local governments each. How come that Katsina State has 34 local governments today and Kaduna has only 23? This is a food for thought. I have the answers, but I'm just putting a rhetorical question. Now, what am I saying? But that Governor El-Rufai will come and look at a whole 10 to 12 local governments of Southern Kaduna and tell them, I don't need your votes to win election. That means that he knows what he's talking about. He had said that several times, and he won his election, let me say, in court, because we have such a very weak institution that is called INEC. But if INEC was strong, like in America, for instance, where you have a sitting president and he still found his way out, it can never happen in Nigeria like that, unless you have a gentleman like Goodluck Jonathan, who will do that for the sake of peace and stability of his nation, for the sake of patriotism. He demonstrated that. But in Africa, it never happens. But the governor looked at the people of Southern Kaduna and say he doesn't need their votes to win election. In any situation, any country where votes count, you cannot just look at even one polling unit and say you don't need their votes, even if you are contested to be a president, because that polling unit can make you lose your election. And that is the kind of arrogance we have today. When people look at people so arrogantly, leaders talk with arrogance as if they are talking to objects, not subjects. That is what we have today. And so why we are having this corruption that you are talking about, not only in the military, because it is leadership that emerge out of that kind of a weak institution, a compromised institution. What do you expect? As the members of the National Assembly today, of course, there are some of them that won their election sweet and clear, but there are many more of them that use that crooked system to emerge into the National Assembly. Do you expect them to stand up to what is happening today? And ditto for most of the people that we have in elected positions today. So what I'm trying to theorize here is that, look, we must strengthen our institutions like INEC. We must have a leader that will come with courage and patriotism and commitment with statesmanship to reform critical institutions like our judiciary and the police and the INEC and so on and so forth. If this country must rise to join the Committee of Nations, if not, I'm afraid we'll continue to have these things that we are seeing, that a whole community can be killed and a telephone call, even if the people are arrested, a telephone call from the so-called above will now set those criminals, those terrorists free. And it has, as it has always been happening. Even if the natives, the community people that have been attacked, chase and track down the criminals, the next day they are free and they come back to kill some more. This is the frustration that everybody is going through. And the question you ask is that, do we have leadership? Yes, we have leadership. But the leadership we have did not come through the right channel. It came through a corrupted channel. It came through a compromised channel. And so the leadership is not in a position to help the situation. So that is where we find ourselves in this country.
Thank you very much, sir. Austyn, before we come to you, let's listen to Chief Asake Ilikano. He's been raising up his hand for a while. He joined from Germany. Let us hear what he has to say. Chief Ilikano, if you can please unmute yourself. Hello, Mr. Abbas. If you can unmute yourself, please, and make a comment, if you are still here. All right, if not, Austyn, because we have the next 30 minutes to talk about the solution. The problem is immense. Where do we go from here? Austyn, please.
You see, recently the
Hello?
National Security Advisor.
Hello, Dan.
Okay, Austyn, I'm so sorry. Let's hear Chief Ilikano, and then you continue. Yes.
Good evening, gentlemen. Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. I just want to put in a few words. I must first and foremost thank the last speaker. It is a magnificent thing to see somebody who is so competent. And if we have such people like this man in the Senate or House of Rep, we wouldn't be having this problem. It is what we are going through today is because of incompetence, nothing but that. You elect people who cannot read and understand things. History, the other man was talking about Ahmad Bello, this and that and that. It is reference to history. The pronouncement made by those people and the young generation might pick them up. Now, some people were arrested and they made mention, names, those who brought in these people. And I ask another question, is our border so porous? Where did they come from? And we had custom men and immigration officers. These are the issues this last man was talking about. So these people that made pronouncement that these people that came into our country are free to come in, and our head of state allow people to come in without visa, or at the airport you will be issued a visa and all this. That's brought all this mess. until we address this issue and arrest people who come out and say words as if that nothing will happen to them. And that must stop. And then again, finally, while we are discussing about the problem insecurity in our country, we must remember one thing. The Western world are using the incompetence of these people that are so-called in government, creating problem in our country that we cannot. Nigeria is the consumer market of the world. If you leave Nigeria to develop with, you see the statistics of Nigerians' input in overseas and in all fields of profession. So if you allow Nigeria in peace to develop, I wonder where the Western world would be. And therefore, if Nigerians should think and get united and think deep for peace and stability, and think how we can survive without loan and all what has been, there will be peace in our country. Because that outside people are also in the problem we are having in Nigeria. They are there, instigating problems. I give you an example. Look at what happened in Yoruba land. Because there is movement, Oduduwa Republic, joining the Niger Delta and the Middle Belt Forum and Ohanese. Now they quickly moved to instigate problem in Yoruba land between the Christian in Yoruba land and Muslim, so that there will be trouble. They would have no peace of talking of Oduduwa. First of all, fighting war. And I asked myself, the High Commission of America or the ambassador went to talk with Seriki in Lagos and left the Kanu. He left Sultan of Sokoto, he left Oni of Ife, he left Oba of Lagos, and went to Seriki in Ilesamaja to do what? People to wake up and think. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your contribution. Let's now go back to Austyn, please.
You see, Dan, I'm sure you've traveled. No, it doesn't have to be all over the world, but you've traveled and you've seen how systems do work. Okay, systems are being put in place for a reason. There's a clear difference between publicity, implementation, and the actual fact of what is happening. In Nigeria, you find out around the political class, they always announce, they always publicize. And it's so pathetic that in Nigeria, just an announcement makes some people happy. It is only in Nigeria that a governor will build a culvert and people will say, let's go and thank him. It is not his personal money. It is only in Nigeria that budget is being implemented at 25%, 30% per year. So is there corruption in the military in terms of the fight against Boko Haram? Massively. Recently, the National Security Advisor made allegation that the money that was budgeted, billions of dollars, have been missing. And unfortunately, surprisingly as well, the presidency came and said that that information is not true, that the money is not missing. But we know that the fight against Boko Haram is now the new cash cow. Even when the people, the herdsmen are gone, the people at the helms of affairs are gone, they have their own boys that will still be giving remittance to them. It is only in Nigeria you will see a soldier who will give a bribe to go and fight Boko Haram. Who does that? How can you give a bribe to go and fight war? Reason being that there's money there. And that is why you keep, Burata has been telling Nigeria that Boko Haram is not going to finish even in the next 10 years. It is true. He knows the kind of system that has been created there. The system has been created to last forever. Unfortunately, the leadership of the country has failed. And the political willpower to manage these institutions and eventually to which will fight the war is not there. It's not there. Everybody that has been appointed in Nigeria today to a certain position high-profile position, they are automatically, party members, either directly or indirectly. And hence why you see sometimes, how can you, which serious nation will appoint people that have failed to become their ambassadors? Which country? Who does that? Nobody would. You have been confirmed to have failed. And the same National Assembly that confirmed that these people have failed were the people that quickly screened them to become ambassadors. Okay, so this money is not just touching, it's not just going around the military, it touches everywhere, even to the presidency.
You mean the security chiefs? Because there is this people who we stayed with, they failed, they retired, and we are now hearing reports that to be appointed as ambassadors. So
ambassadors. They've been screened. They're just waiting for posting. And their screening was one of the fastest.
Another thing you mentioned is last time we had the national security advisor to the president.
Yes.
He
made an allegation
on the BBC and said something. And now that whole national security advisor, I had his name under serious pressure. People are now going after his job.
Yeah, because it was a massive embarrassment to say you don't say that under Buhari. You don't say that under the regime. You don't criticize them. The way APC the way APC operates, once you are inside, you have no right. Once you join them, you have ceded your rights to criticize the party. You ceded your right to criticize the leaders. You dare not. They will not only throw you out, they will make sure they punish you before they throw you out. So this is exactly what is happening to the national security. And actually, if you go and scrutinize, most of those monies are gone. They are gone. We've heard of army officers that are building houses in Abuja with swimming pool and all these kind of things. How much do you earn as a major general per month? So, and this thing, it's from the top.
Okay.
Trickling down.
Okay, let's quickly move on because we'll soon be rounding up. Now, if there is a problem, the state has failed the people. How will the people protect themselves? So let's start from you and then we move to the other speaker. Since you're already on the spotlight, how will the people protect themselves?
Well, unfortunately, the laws in Nigeria does not really allow people to protect themselves. Okay, you cannot keep arms at home to protect yourself. Okay, but the thing is, Nigerians need to wake up. Nigerians have over the time become so docile. They need to wake up to these leaders. They need to wake up, because if you see the way things are happening, if Nigerians don't wake up, because Nigerians need to wake up. If Nigerians don't wake up, things will go terribly bad. Dan, in London, no police officer on duty is allowed to carry his personal mobile phone. In Nigeria, before the end of the ended SARS were holding POS. They will take people to cash machine to go and transfer money into accounts. Who are the owners of these accounts? So, and this money is being collected is not just for them. It goes to the highest position. And that's why they operate with ease and they get away with it. So the system has to be, I will put it this way, has to be rebooted. But again, Nigerians have to, 2023 is coming, they have to elect the right leaders, not people that will come, build culvert and expect a thank you. Okay, you can collect, I will encourage Nigerians, should any politician give you money, collect the money, is your money. You collect the money and vote your choice. Collect the money and still vote your choice. It is your money. So you don't, the fact that you collect money does not mean that you must give your loyalty. If a politician gives you money, collect it and still go ahead and do your protect your vote after voting.
Honorable, we will now come to you. How will the people protect themselves, seeing that the state has failed?
Well, I think I have been working with communities in Southern Kaduna, particularly communities that have been invaded and displaced, particularly to intervene with humanitarian aid. And from the testimonies I've heard of the victims of these attacks that are unending, it has appeared that there is no intention of government or the authorities protecting these people. In fact, it appeared, and again, to make reference to the speaker from Niger, Ali Baba, where he said conspiracy theories are being propounded here. It is not conspiracy. Look, these things are clear. They are happening. We're seeing them. Before, people were not talking about these things before. Before, people did not even know that these things were happening in some communities. Before, people would prefer to use some other description of what is happening other than looking at a spade and call it a spade. But people are now talking. So things are changing. So in our communities, like I said, the attacks have continued ceaselessly. And each time members of the community gather up to defend themselves, they are the ones that are rounded up by the military and pushed into vans and taken into detention. We have many of our youth today in Southern Kaduna that actually are languishing in detention in Kaduna prisons because of this. And so the option left is the option, not me saying it, the option that is provided for by the Constitution of the right to self-defense. The option provided by the former Chief of Army Staff, T.Y. Danjuma, of self-defense. The option provided for by the Chief of Defense Staff of today, Magashi, who said the people should defend themselves. But each time members of a community that are incessantly being attacked rise up to defend themselves with their bows and arrows and machetes, they are rounded up by the military, who shows complicity of the government of the day in what is going on. That there's an agenda that is being pursued, and which I'm making reference to Ali Baba, that he's saying that instead of us looking at criminality and calling it by its name, we're talking about an agenda. When we see an agenda, we know that an agenda is playing out. We are too experienced now that one killing too many, something that started within some states of the Middle Belt, in the Plateau, for instance. In fact, hundreds of communities were attacked, have been displaced. Their names have been changed to Fulani names. In Benue, the same story. In Southern Kaduna, the same story. In Taraba, the same story. Adamawa, the same story. Everywhere. And it has gone even to the south. Now, who else is still in doubt that there is an agenda that is playing out? An agenda of supplanting indigenous communities and implanting Fulani communities. The Ruga program, the Abote Ruga program, the cattle colonies program, and all sorts of other programs, even the livestock, the ranching program today, they are all agenda geared at supplanting indigenous communities and implanting Fulani communities. And that's the agenda. So whenever somebody says he doesn't want an agenda to be spoken about, people are speaking. Even in the core Northwest, the Hausa communities that are victims of these attacks by the Fulani herdsmen are speaking out that their lands are being taken over and they are being chased out of their lands. So it is an agenda. Everybody knows. And let me say it, if the government does not have a hand in this, let them do what was done in Burkina Faso. When these attackers continue to attack communities, the government supported the communities because they knew that they didn't have the security forces to be in every community. So they supported the communities and armed the communities to defend themselves. And that is what actually checkmated this menace. But here it will not happen. The people that are the victims are the ones that are being hunted down and are being taken into detention. And so that is why we suspect in every move that an agenda is being pursued. And by God's grace, this agenda is being known everywhere. It's being known in the West, it's being known in the East, it's being known in the South, it's being known in the Middle Belt. And the Middle Belt and the Southern Forum is coming together. And of course, there is intention by the Hausa communities to also join that, look, Nigeria is for Nigerians. These people that are coming to kill, most of them are not from Nigeria. They are from neighboring African countries. They only come in to collaborate with the criminal indigenous or criminal local Fulanis that we have to perpetrate these crimes. But the local Fulanis probably don't know the agenda. Only the leaders that are pursuing this agenda of Fulanization of the country that know what is going on. And they are using the local Fulanis, you know, to collude with the foreign Fulanis. And how do I know that they are foreigners? The president himself in 2016 had said when these killings were going on that the people that are coming here are coming from Libya and Mali and other African countries. And they are the ones that are coming to kill. And the governor of Kaduna State said the people coming to kill in Southern Kaduna are coming from Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and other neighboring African countries. And that he traced them to pay them. So, which means that we know that criminals are coming from outside to kill Nigerian citizens. And we have left our borders so deliberately porous. No country that leaves its borders like Nigeria is leaving its borders. A country that has no borders is not a country. And that is what Nigeria has found himself. But what we see every day is that this administration under Buhari is insisting on borrowing so much money and building infrastructure only to link up northern part of the country with Niger. And that is why many people are beginning to think, is the core northern part of this country already thinking of seceding and then annexing some parts of Niger or Niger to form a country? And so the resources of Nigeria are going to be used. And so all this huge debt that is being, you know, accumulated for the rest of us to pay all, for our posterity to pay. And that is the question that everybody is asking. So if the government is not complicit in what is going on, the government must deliberately arm these communities, these vulnerable and defenseless communities, to protect themselves. After all, it is a constitutional right. And if that is done, they will know the government is not complicit.
We thank you very much. Stanley, you've raised up your hand. Do you support that communities should be armed to protect themselves? You can unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, greetings to you all this evening. I'm actually calling in from the US. I greet Honorable Jonathan Asake, my wonderful leader from Southern Kaduna. Truly, I would say yes, fully support. By the way, I'm very concerned that our youths are being imprisoned in in prisons in Kaduna State. Our youths from Southern Kaduna are now the victims, but yet are being taken to prison. It is something that I wish and pray that we can be able to do something about that, possibly getting lawyers for them to advocate on their behalf, because truly we don't know how long they can be there and why they should continue to be in detention when there is an obvious case of them being killed and yet taken to prison. This is highly unacceptable, and it's something that we can actually get lawyers for them and see how they can be freed so that they can be of help in securing our land. truly, I know the constitution of the nation does not warrant that people carry arms for themselves. But I must tell you that we have gotten to a situation where I had the president say that there has been proliferation of ammunitions, even with the closure of borders. How did this happen? We don't know. And so if people are carrying up arms to defend themselves, I would truly say we are truly in support of that. I have been in a place where in Brindingwari, where I'm a pastor, actually, by the way. I'm a pastor by God's grace. So I pastored in a village in Banditry where from 2014 to 2018, there had been series of attacks in most of these villages around that place. And I remember before leaving that place in 2018, one of the requests these people gave to me was, Pastor, how can we get arms to protect ourselves? I was the person that told them, I said, no, you cannot get arms to protect yourself. I would suggest you surrender to God and trust God to protect you. God will always protect you. This is coming from a pastor's voice. But look at it today, that shortly after I left that place, 2 people were killed. I cried in my room here as a student in the US. I wept and cried. I called on somebody I know within the government and I said, please, can you help these people? The question he asked me was, how many people are in this village? I was provoked by that question. Does it matter the number? Does it matter the political affiliation? We are talking about solutions here. And I will say, truly, if there's a way our people can be able to carry arms and protect themselves, I am fully in support of that, because we can never sit down. None of these government officials telling us not to carry arms to protect ourselves will sit down and see their own children being killed right before their eyes. They will not take it. So I don't see a reason why, if somebody who is considered a low-class citizen or a non-entity who wants to protect themselves would not be allowed to protect themselves. I find that highly unjustifiable, and it's wickedness of the highest order. And so I truly would, even as we are speaking, my mind is just thinking and saying, how are these people going to sleep tonight? What is the next community that will be attacked? Who will be killed? Who would lose their homes? And all of this thought is coming to my mind, and I'm saying, well, something needs to be done. Something has to be done. I know our people have been overwhelmed and they're suffering a lot, and the suffering is not felt by anybody, but by people that they love, like people like Jonathan Asake and other people who have been vocal on their behalf. They are the ones feeling the pain. We are feeling the pain in diaspora. And it was truly hurtful that the deputy speaker reject a call from the diaspora community. That is highly unacceptable as well. And so for solutions, we're calling that the government should allow people to be able to protect themselves with the best possible way they can. And sir, I would lastly say, Sir Honorable Jonathan Asake, if it is possible, let us, like the way the southeast, the south-south, the Yoruba community, how they have the Amotekun. If we can have something like that within Southern Kaduna, let's go for it. If it is acceptable in another place, let's do it in our place, if it is possible. Thank you very much. You are muted, sir.
Mohammed, you know, sometimes we talk about this problem of banditry and kidnappings as if it is restricted to Middle Belt and some areas. We know that Niger State is also badly affected. In fact, someone told me, one House of Rep member said that some communities in Niger State, some bandits have cornered some areas and become the de facto government, collecting money from the communities. Do you also support that communities should be allowed to protect themselves from these criminals who are kidnapping?
Oh, well, of course, there's hardly any state that doesn't have a JTF. civilian JTF, and the communities, even if they must protect themselves, must come through the governmental process. You know, but I still need to get back to this so-called theory, conspiracy theory. This is what is instigating and exacerbating these problems. Although most of those youths that they claim are in prison now are the ones that have been instigated to attack peaceful Fulani camps in the name of that so-called self-defense. You defend yourself when you attack. You don't go attacking innocent people just because you assume they are brethren were the ones that attacked you. Then you are become like them, anarchists, and then you are supposed to face the law. So those so-called youths that they say are in prison are those that are actually taking laws in their hands and doing exactly what they accuse the Fulanis of doing, of attacking innocent.
That is not true. That is not true.
That's very true.
That is not true.
That's very
oh,
true.
we are coming. Maybe I'm the one talking. I didn't interfere when all of you are talking.
Yeah, but that's wrong. That's wrong. You need to.
No, there's nothing wrong there. That's what is happening. There is no way somebody will attack you and then you counter them and you will be arrested. It is those that are attacking innocent people, and that's what has happened even in the Southwest. That's what happened in the Southwest.
Allow him to talk.
My place.
Let's
in
allow.
my place. Those last week in Niger.
Let's
just
allow
last
him
week,
to finish, please. Let's allow him to finish.
Just last week in Niger, Gulu area, when those bandits came and they were confronted by their arrested for and you. So they are legitimate targets. That is banditry. The same thing we are fighting against is what those local youth are being instigated to do, and you expect that they will not be picked up. So, of course, there is need of the state police issue. This has come, the community policing. But whoever needs to be armed has to come through the normal process. You just don't go out of your way, go and acquire weapons, just like the Fulanis have done now. Those bandits have acquired it illegally, and that is why they are. So anybody that also use that as an excuse to go and acquire it illegally is in the same camp with them. There's no discrimination in those who break the law, irrespective of all the theories and the instigations. You can't use illegality to achieve a legal goal. So people need to be armed, but it has to be done through the normal governmental processes so that you are licensed and they know you have it. And mostly, like I said, most states have vigilante groups that they are making efforts to arm, and they are discussing with the federal government to relax and provide those enablements and licensing to do that. At least I'm aware, even our Niger State governor has made that announcement and is working towards that. But to instigate ordinary youth to simply pick up arms and attack people, they are also bandits, just like the Fulanis. And that is heading towards anarchy. Whatever we do, if we accuse others of doing wrong, then we shouldn't use the wrong means of checkmating them, because we become like them. There will be no difference. It's either you call them Fulani bandits or Atue bandits or whichever tribe that they are bandits. That's all. So they must be dealt with according to the law. But of course, improving on the security system, I've said so before. Part of what the government wanted to do before, I'm also disappointed that they wanted to recruit 10,000 additional police every year. Unfortunately, it was margins from stupid legal entanglement between the IG and the Police Service Commission. I was so disappointed. So, like I said, and also took the former Deputy Speaker, Ekoremadu. I'm surprised that 3 to 4 weeks down the line, he still hasn't moved his bill for creation of state police. He said under 10 days it will be done. Now it's about 3 to 5 weeks. We've been waiting for him to move that so that the constitution can easily be amended. All the fears that we have had over state police now, the necessity have made it imperative. No state will actually have state police and will not properly equip them, because that was the fear. If they treat them like civil servants, you're only creating another set of licensed bandits. But with this emergency, I think every state that is able to create a state police will fund them adequately and motivate the personnel to do what they needed to do. But we need to follow the due process. Nobody can use the excuse of this emergency to commit illegality and expect that because you make noise and has the media, then they will be shielded. Any bandit, irrespective of the stripe, is a bandit and must be treated like a bandit. That's my own.
We thank you. Any other person wants to make any comment before we round up on on the issue of self-defense. That is where we are now. Solution. Meanwhile, I will have to say that if it is true that some boys have been arrested and are still in detention up till now, it is something that should be investigated. Because no matter the crime they've committed, they shouldn't be detained for more than the law allows. So, and I'll say here that if the problem is legal representation, it is something that we can easily step in to see that they have legal representation to have their fundamental human rights enforced. If they have committed any crime, then they should be prosecuted in the court of law. So if anybody has any information to that effect, I've put my WhatsApp number there. I'll be happy to be contacted to see how we can further investigate the matter and get to the root of it. Sir Ibodike, you're raising up your hand. Sir Ikem Ibodike, please. You can unmute yourself.
Well, my position may not sound so good, especially to our brothers from the Southern Kaduna and Southern minorities. But the truth must still be said. During the election, they become one full global north, that indivisible north. And then when they are oppressing the southeast or south-south, they keep silent and quiet. Now that the oppressors and aggressors are also oppressing them, they're crying out. 2021, 2023 is around the corner. Will they be willing to vote out these people? When the election comes around again, they become one indivisible north. After they have got the power, they break back the country along the religious lines, which is what we're crying out for now. That's my little contribution.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Ibodike, for...
I want to say something here.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes. You know, the last speaker, actually, if I roll out the records of voting, I have been around since that 1999, and I have all the records. It will baffle him. In fact, he will make a reverse of what he's saying if he sees the voting pattern in most parts of the Middle Belt. I'm talking about Southern Kaduna, I'm talking about Plateau, I'm talking about Benue, I'm talking about Nasara, I'm talking about all those states that you call the Middle Belt. The voting pattern has never been what you are talking about. In fact, it has been solidly, when the, OBJ was coming in, if you check the voting pattern, most of the votes that made him to win the election, even in the north, are not from the core north. The core north has always voted Buhari in APP, ANPP, and CPC, and the APC. So if you look at it, what you are saying, maybe you don't have the records, and I can give you the records free of charge so that you see the voting pattern for yourself. It has never been like that. Even in the last election, when Atiku stood against Buhari, that is why the Southern Kaduna people are still being persecuted today by the governor. The votes that the Southern Kaduna people cast in 2019 election, in fact, under the PDP, is higher than any other states in the Federation. Go and check the records. No state had the votes that were cast from Southern Kaduna. So if you look at these things, but what have we gotten? We have only gotten killings. We have only gotten persecution, nobody coming to our aid. Even the people that we have worked for, they have never come to our aid. In fact, when the killings are going on, they will rather talk about herders and farmers clash. They will not talk about people that are being targeted for elimination. So this is a story for another day anyway.
All right. We thank you. Paul.
Yeah, we have heard from every one of us in the participating in this program. And it is unacceptable by the Nigeria Constitution for non-state actors to unleash mayhem on the indigenous Nigerians. And we have found out that most often times the government has reiterated that those killing Nigerians are foreigners. And we've also heard from governor of Kaduna State National Refinery, that those people are foreigners. And that's why he has paid them to stop killing Nigerians. And the question is, why are you not protecting people who are foreigners killing Nigerians? I thank you so much, Honorable Jonathan Asake. I've been your follower for a long time. As an activist, I've made a dictum that represents your intelligence and resilience. And I look forward to meeting with you, for onward issues on insecurity in Nigeria and a way forward. And I want to, as well, urge every one of us not to stand akimbo, to be slaughtered and mined by this government who is very intolerant, especially when any of these murderous bandits and them elements have been, apprehended. And I want every one of us to defend ourselves. We need to defend ourselves. Look, this country belongs to every one of us. We are Nigerians. This democracy belongs to us. Nobody has the monopoly of dominance, absolutism over the indigenous people of Nigeria. That is my stake. Let Nigerians arise and defend ourselves. And we will do that collectively by the grace of God.
Okay, we thank you. Any other person that wants to make a comment before we round it up? We are coming to an end. You can unmute yourself to let's hear from you before we go.
Yes, well, what I just did right now, when we talk about, legal arming, the government has to allow people to arm themselves, right? They're not going to do so. Because as has been indicated here, when the so-called bandits called terrorists, annihilate a village, nothing happens. But when the village arm themselves against the terrorists, they are rounded up. Okay? So basically right now is for the government to let everybody, yes, it's going to lead to anarchy, but everything gets worse before it gets bad, before it gets resolved. So these people know that they are going to where there are no arms, so they do what they need to do and get away with it. But if they know that they're armed where they're going to, then it becomes who shoots first, right? So if we do that, then that happens, but it's not going to happen because the government will not allow that. The next thing is the only way that Nigeria can save itself right now is a revolution.
Okay, thank you.
That's basically it.
Okay, we thank you very much. We thank all of you tonight who have contributed, made salient points. We hope that the points made here will eventually go to the people on authority. We thank you, Honorable Jonathan Asake, for being with us tonight. You've had a decade-long years of activism on this particular issue. So we thank you very much for being with us tonight, sir. We thank you, Mohammed, for making our time to, even though you got the information.
Can I say something?
Okay, right. Yeah, why not?
Yes. I think first and foremost, my favorite refrain is this. They say all it takes for evils to triumph is for good men to stand aside and look. So long as those that feel they have what it takes will stand and all they do is to analyze, to castigate, and to grandstand, there will be no change. That is one. Two, every group, sociological group, is comprised of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this generalized thing about Southern Kaduna or North-South or voting along ethnic or tribal lines will only take us further into the ditch because evil has no tribe, has no religion, and has no region. Good guys they are not consigned to any part. So in every part, there are good guys, and all we need, irrespective of party, to identify these good guys when they go. First and foremost, a critical mass of them must show interest and participate. And two is to ensure that those good guys, irrespective of their creed, religion, or party, are voted in. That is what will change the system. There's nothing, no amount of or grandstanding or analysis will change it. Those that are in control now are enjoying what they are doing, irrespective of the pains that the masses are going through. So what will change is for when good guys that will not do as they are doing go in. And it's never generalized along region or section or whatever. It is the good guy, irrespective of where he's from and which party. That has been my reference, and that is what I'll continue to advocate. So this analysis paralysis will not happen.
Okay, Mohammed, I know that we are coming to an end, but let me quickly put this point to you.
Yeah.
In Niger State, you know, I always mention Niger State because I lived in that state for I went to my primary school there. So I always pick interest in what goes in Niger State. The information we are getting is that the killings, the violence in Niger State may even be worse than what is going on in Kaduna State. So is that true? And if it is true, why aren't people talking about it? Because we had Senator Shehu Sani here some time ago. Senator Sani said that the people most affected by violence.
First and foremost, excuse me.
Yes.
No, first and foremost, violence has come into Nigeria because they share that Beningwari border, this Zamfara, that forest left. That forest bound is Niger, and that's why they are coming through Kagara, taking the area, because that's the boundary with Kaduna. You know, Beningwari area is a no-go area now because bandits are taking over. That's why they are infiltrating into Niger. And of course, they are not being talked about mainly because, I mean, it will be seen as them against themselves. You know, the media in Nigeria is highly sexual, partisan, and religious. Excuse me, you say they are not talking about it. I'm saying if there is no coverage, it's because, first and foremost, it may not make the kind of headlines that will happen if it happened in southern Kaduna.
Okay, let me tell you what Sani said. Senator Shehu Sani said that these problems are not being... Senator Sani said, Senator Sani said that the reason why the violence in some of these areas are not being talked about is because those who are affected, if they speak out, they will be viewed as speaking against their own government. Do you share that opinion that maybe these people are in APC or maybe...
No, certainly not. You know, Sani's case is peculiar now. Sani has become a blogger and a sensational media since he lost his day. So Sani's case, but talking about it is because of media presence. In fact, we have one of the worst governors, you know that. Is the most, the late Papa were closed. But you know why it's not being reported? That's just, if it's not reported, it's not because of what he's talking about. It's because there is limited media presence. Where in Niger, there is no week I don't go to Niger. And a lot of this sensationalization is social media. I still farm in Niger. I go to Niger virtually every week. I'm likely to go tomorrow. So it's not as bad as it's being portrayed in the social media. But like I told you, the infiltration is through that border with Kaduna and then the border with Zamfara. So that forest is where the infiltration is coming about. And like I told people, it's still the security. The security that is incapacitated due to lack of equipment and lack of motivation. Only recently, they just camouflage, and you must have seen the video now. The security merely camouflage as if they are passengers, and these idiots came running and wanted to rush them, and then they rounded them up. So if the security are motivated and equipped, they can deal with these people. Like I told you, I still feel very strongly. Is that corruption that has made them lose sight of their focus on fighting this, and that is why it has conflagrated. All these theories are kept; they are mere distractions. Because I don't see why you must destroy yourself, your place, in order to get to the next person. If there is that jihadist system, why should the jihad be confined to the northwest or the northeast where majority of the Muslims are? Why not headed southwards or non-Muslim areas? Now, these are conflagrations that have been there because the institutions have collapsed virtually. Even these Fulani that we're having problems with, is because all the interventions in agriculture have neglected them. In fact, I think the last government relationship with the Fulani formal was in 1979 after PRP abolished the cattle tax. And that was the link that the traditional authorities and even governmental authorities used to have with this Fulani. And since then, they have lived in their own world. So whatever they were incubating, nobody knew because there was no contact until it's conflagrated.
Okay.
So we need to get to those people. But if so long as we continue to bandit theories, we will not face up to the brass task and continue. Please. And like these people keep talking about Ruga and whatever. So long as we don't domesticate this Fulani and stop them from moving about, this crisis will continue.
Please, I need 1 minute.
And so please. That Ruga, whatever you call it, it's a necessity for us to contend this movement because that's what is instigating some of this crisis.
You build ranches.
Okay, Austyn, before I come to you, let's hear Stanley. Stanley, you were raising up your hand before. Austyn, we'll come back to you, please.
Let me say that where I stayed from 2014 to 2018 is the last village in Chukun local government before Niger State. And these people have a challenge in that place. One, there is no mobile network in that area. So even if there's an attack, before they are able to make phone calls, is difficult. Secondly, police presence, security presence in those areas is very difficult. You hardly are able to call the presence. I remember on one occasion where there was an attack, I kept calling and making contacts. Before I could reach a police unit to be able to reinforce and come there, it was until the following day in the morning. And thirdly, you find out that these people, most of them are not educated. When it comes to Western education, they don't know how, and they have been so intimidated by the security personnel within those places that if there's any attack, they are even afraid to go and report for fear of the fact that they will be extorted. Monies will be collected from them that they don't even have. Some of them have it, but they feel should not be given to security personnel for any reason as such. And so they cannot really go and begin to report some of these things. I remember in one of the communities, when 2 people were killed, it took a lot of effort for them to be able to go and report to the police. A lot of effort. I had to convince them, I had to work on their minds to make them realize that if they don't do this, if anything comes up tomorrow, nobody will hear them. That was when they were able to go. So the truth is that, one, there is an issue of no mobile network connections. Secondly, they are truly not well educated. And third, there's a lot of extortion that is going on within these communities, and the government of Niger have more rural areas than urban settlements. And because of this, the people in the rural areas have been totally abandoned, neglected. And so as a result of that, they don't feel the presence of the government. They don't feel the impact. So it's not an issue of border, whatever that Mohammed is actually talking about. For me, the real issue here is the fact that the rural areas are unattended to by the government. The government has abandoned all of the rural areas. And so these criminals, these terrorists, as I'll call them, are finding a very comfortable place to sit down in these rural areas, in these bushes, and they are carrying out their mayhem. They are highly known to be there in Niger State rural areas, and nobody is doing anything about them. So, I mean, Mohammed, I don't truly understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you, Austyn.
I think Mohammed tactically dodged your question. The question you asked him is, why aren't people talking? Because the killing, like you rightly said, is almost as overwhelming as that of Southern Kaduna. Okay, so it doesn't matter where they enter from. If they enter from Kogi to Niger, or they enter from Kaduna to Niger, that's not the question. And the fact that Mohammed can go to his farm does not mean that everybody in Niger can also go to their farms. Niger is a very large state. So Mohammed is not being sincere with the fact that if it's Southern Kaduna, because we have media coverage, Niger State has some of the most prominent people in Nigeria. We talk about the Babangidas, the Abdul Salami. So why the Gadonasco? Why can't they talk? The question is, why are they not talking if he's saying that if the only when we hear is from Southern Kaduna? Because we are concerned. And we don't want to be killed. So why he cannot talk against the killings? Why other people cannot talk? Now you talk about Shehu Sani, he's trying to, and this is the thing. Once you try to talk about this killing, you try to criticize, the ongoing mayhem, they try to brand you in some certain kind of way. But Mohammed is not sincere with the fact. I will want him to talk about, even if a single person that dies in Niger State, he needs to talk about it. He needs to talk about it. It's not that you want to come out and say, why is it that it's only Southern Kaduna is sideways? It wants to make it look sad. No, we are talking about it. Mohammed, please talk about your own people that are being killed in Niger State, because the killing is almost as much as Southern Kaduna.
It's not. It's social media. I'm from Niger, and I should love Niger more than you do. You can't love my place more than I do. There's no way. Your point is to grandstand. Media is your forte. I know Niger more than you do Niger. I'm from Niger. From Niger. So that is it. So you can't love my state more than I do. I just mentioned in my locality where the vigilante countered.
No,
I just mentioned that you didn't hear that one. Where my so just concentrate on what you're doing.
You said we should allow you to talk.
Please,
I apologize.
Let me just say something here.
I allow you to talk.
Honestly, the people that have been killed in Niger, they are already profiled people. That is why you don't hear about them. I know what I'm talking about. So the man talking there, he says he's from Niger. You are from Niger, but your heart is not connected to those people that are being killed.
Because they are not Christians now.
The show was telling you are talking about is a statesman. He's a man that is so brave, so courageous, that when he looks at the colors of injustice,
because he's attacking El-Rufai, is courageous.
He talks about it. Some people would prefer to keep quiet because they believe that the people that are being killed, the people that are being displaced, don't belong to them. And I've always said these things. When people feel so complacent, they feel so safe, they feel so secure, because the people that are being killed today are not their own, in their own perception. It will come. When the Boko Haram started, it has started like that. The northern elders, the northern elites, they kept quiet in conspiracy of silence, believing that Boko Haram was there to fight their own cause. But by and by, Boko Haram became, a monster, a Frankenstein monster that was dealing with everybody, including the people that created the monster. And so with the killer herdsmen, as they are raging around communities, they are coming. They will come to every community. They may be in some particular communities now. So it is our responsibility to speak out as leaders and not to be caught up in this web of conspiracy. And when somebody says something, you say it is an agenda, they talk about agenda. No, it's an agenda where everybody knows. That is all. The people that are being killed, you don't see them as your own people. Period.
So no, I'm Nupe, and where they have just fought is Nupe. And I've told you that the vigilante they are counter them. So I don't generalize. These bandits are bandits. So is that generalization I resent? Because every group, including your own, there are bandits there. So at that talk of criminals, you talk of criminals. But when you generalize, you can't have me. That generalization. There are bandits even in your place.
And they are the baggy that are having a common border with Kaduna State. In fact, the entire communities around Sarkin Power, they have been displaced. They are now staying in Sarkin Power. We have been taking food aids to those people there. I can tell you that one. So that is not something that I'm just speaking out of the blues. It's something practical. Communities there, they have been displaced. They cannot go back. Katerma axis, they are not there in their communities. So what are you talking about?
Did I not tell you it is the border with Kaduna? Did I mention that? Did I not mention that most of the places being attacked are bordering Kaduna? Is that not what I said? What are you saying that is different? What are you saying that is different now? What are you saying that is different from what I said?
All right.
What are you saying that is different from what I said? Including Kagara and Tegina, the whole border Kaduna. That's what I said now. Is that not what I said? So they are coming from Kaduna. So what is different from what I said now?
Gentlemen,
is it where they're coming from or the havoc that they are causing?
I said it's because of the way they move. That is what I mentioned there. So it doesn't matter. So, but because your mind is made up about this ethnicization and religionization, you say they are already profiled. You say they are already profiled because they border Kaduna.
That they are coming from outside.
I mean, that your theory will continue and will continue.
Right.
It's a Christian Middle Belt Forum is a Christian movement. There's nothing regional about the Middle Belt Forum. It's strictly Christian. So you keep at it and we know what you are. You should be courageous enough to admit there is a platform for Christian Northerners. That's all. You should be courageous enough. You are not defending anything apart from religious.
Thank you, Honorable. I think
it's injustice everywhere.
Thank you very much.
It doesn't matter where that injustice is taking place.
Thank you.
So don't religionize it. Injustice has no religion, and criminals have no religion. They have no border.
Thank you very much. It's been a very, it's always a very emotive subject because human lives are being lost. I don't know, one day Nigeria will sit down and count the number of lives lost. I don't know what the future generations will look back to say about this generation of Nigerians, what people were doing. We hear 10,000, 5,000, even if it's 1 or 10, these are human lives. It's very shameful, but it's always an emotive subject. So thank you very much. Those who have stayed up till now, we thank you. Honorable Muhammad, thank you very much for being with us. Austyn, thank you. Henry, thank you for coming in. And Stanley, it's nice to see you today. So hopefully this discussion will continue some other time. And because a solution needs to be found. And right now, like I said before, the first discussion we have under security is someone from the Southeast. It appears the Southeast will be sleeping now, and something is developing now that is very dangerous. Where some people will kill the police and take away their arms, kill the army, take away their arms, and the Southeast politicians are now sleeping. And one day that thing will start. That is the way we are now saying it started in the Northeast, and now the Middle Belt, the Yoruba own is also developing. Will we still have a country in the next 10 years? No one knows.
That's the question.
That's the question.
That's the question, because right now, when if everybody does not wake up to protect the other, then when A gets eliminated and B gets eliminated and C gets eliminated, when they get to Z, there's nobody else to scream.
Exactly.
So right now is to pull together and do what we need to do to stop these people. But even within them, once they get done, right, they'll start fighting each other because there are different factions in this whole thing here. They'll start fighting each other. When they get rid of everybody else, then they'll start fighting themselves. Just like what he's saying, Muslims killing Muslims in some other places. Yeah, because they are Muslim factions, right? This faction is better than that faction, this faction is better than that faction. Together right now, they're a blanket. They'll get rid of people and then they will fight each other.
All right, thank you. I'll stop the recording now.
Go and tell the president that, my friend. Go and tell the president.
He knows. He created